Hello there, Magdalena.
Hello, Jonas.
Again. It's the second time we meet like this.
Yes, true. Very happy to meet you again, Jonas.
You pitched the idea to me about having a sort of series about, I think you call it true love.
Yes,
So
I think
this
this is
is
a very important, sorry, yeah, this is a very important topic, I believe.
the first episode of the True Love series. Um, and what was what was your idea behind it?
The idea behind it is that I work with a lot of people as a healer, and as a psychologist and as a spiritual reader. And one of the most common questions is always related to the love, to true love, to soulmates, to relationships. So this is a big field I've been working for many, many years, I believe now 15 years at least. And it seems to be something really that many people care about the true love, and relationships are very important to human beings. They play a major role in our lives, and I have realized that more and more people have a greater understanding about the concept or the universal laws and principles like karma. And many people actually come to me and approach me with very good questions related to the true love path, what I call, and they want to know, sometimes even before they get engaged with someone, or they get in deeper contact with someone, if this is the right choice, the right soulmate, or if this is like a karmic connection that would bring them a lot of trouble. So I've been doing a lot of spiritual readings and a lot of spiritual guidance for people who take decisions on their love, in their love life. And I learned a lot on that way. And I have also offered in the last years programs and workshops. I think my major first workshop related to love was in 2010, which is already really a long time ago. So since then, I've been evolving and learning about the true love path and experiencing a lot. And I think it's a good time to share with others.
So for me, just as a starter, there's true love in, I guess you could call it romantic relationships. But when we spoke earlier, you also spoke about the true love that goes kind of beyond that, or it's not. It's not just romantic relationships. Can you say anything about that?
Exactly. Yes, so maybe we can look a little bit at the definition that I have received through my spiritual channels regarding the true love. What it actually is that a person discovers the true love within themselves. And this is actually the love to the soul, to the divine aspect within ourselves that we can feel. We deeply feel love for ourselves, as well as we feel the love of the source or the divine aspect within us. So we also feel loved. And when we are in this condition, this is a very lovely state. We embody love. And this love then can be expanded to all, to everyone. It's not only to be lived in a one-on-one relationship or an intimate relationship, romantic relationship. This is the love that we can share with all humanity, with animals, with this planet. This is what I believe what true love really is. And it's also the path that I'm sharing about, that we will probably discuss further in the next episodes, is less meeting a true love partner. Of course, it can be part of it, meeting a romantic partner and manifesting a real true love relationship. It's really more becoming true love and sharing this love with the whole world.
Yeah. So yeah, in my view, or I think sometimes we tend to, like they say, many religious and spiritual texts, that we seek that love anything but within ourselves. We tend to seek it in other people or in things or in maybe being a good person towards others and hoping to get love, maybe as we did like as children. And then we continue with that in our adult relationships. So they often tend to be, yeah, run into problems. I think everyone listening to this know what I'm talking about.
Yes, exactly. And I think this is something that has been part of the human culture for a long time, that we are looking outside of ourselves, while the true spiritual wisdom is that everything is already in us. And what is for me important on the true love path is to find tools and practices actually to go within and to discover this, or to uncover this huge love that is within us. Because in my understanding, every human being has an aspect of the source, which is called in our teachings, in the Tao teachings that I've studied for many years, and it's a Mandarin term. It means Yuan Shen, which means original soul. This is the source aspect from the creator. So everybody has this original aspect within ourselves. And this aspect of the source or the divine or the creator is pure love. It's pure love. It is very high frequency and vibration. It's infinite wisdom. So it is in everyone. It's really inside of us. But the question is how to get there, how to get in touch, in contact with this true essence of our being, and how to actually stop searching outside. And this is what I try to share with the people, really practical tools and methods, how to tap into that own source power within our own being.
In my own path, I've yeah, done a lot of spiritual practices like meditation and yeah, well, mostly meditation, a lot of it. And but I also found that healing has been a big part of my spiritual path. So healing from past trauma, healing from could be addiction to candy or whatever, just healing in general and finding over time love for myself. Which and I think I wasn't really even aware of not really loving myself even before that. I just felt like I always felt, and um, to me now it's just such a difference to actually look in the mirror, or just think to myself, or see something I do or something I've done, and just feel love for that person, love for the person in the mirror, and love for myself right now. Uh, but it has taken a lot of effort through a lot of years and a lot of healing, especially. And would you mind sharing anything? Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's very beautiful what you share, because this is my experience also, that for most people, this love is covered by all the negative information that we carry, like you mentioned, past trauma or feelings of rejection or being bullied in some stage of life or experiencing rejection. So I think that this is a very common issue for humanity, that we go through life and make our experiences, and sometimes these experiences bring us further away from ourselves and prevent us from loving ourselves. And on the healing path, I discovered there are some common topics that many people have in common, that they have to heal and transform. Like you already mentioned, past trauma issues, but also the experience of being rejected. This is a very ancient, what can I say? It's a very ancient imprint or pattern that many of us carry. And many of the very ancient bad programmings lead actually to very unhealthy relationships and addictive relationship styles. There are a lot of abusive relationships. There's a lot of codependency. Many psychologists are dealing with this kind of issues. And I really feel, or I really personally think that when people are not feeling and experiencing and living from this place of this unconditional vast love that is inside everyone, then we actually tend to create more suffering, either for ourselves or for others. And very often this kind of negative imprints have been passed on. Everybody knows this, maybe our fathers and mothers didn't get enough love from their generations, and then they have closed their hearts and didn't express their love to us, and it's passed on. But I believe that a lot of suffering in the world is actually because people are disconnected from this love inside of them. Because when we are truly in this condition of love, all we want to do is to give love. All we want to do is to share love. And we also are no more in this state that I observe for many human beings, the state of neediness. Most people want love, and all their thoughts and words and action, everything they create in life or how they behave, is very much driven. Not always consciously. I believe most people won't probably admit it even, but it's driven by the hidden desire to be loved and to receive attention, to receive care. But when we can really find this love inside of us, everything changes. We become completely different beings. Like also you said, looking in the mirror is a different experience. I know so many people who are suffering, and they are literally having a war with their physical appearance, the way they look or the body size. So they have a daily battle with themselves when they have to get dressed or get ready for the day. So there's a lot of suffering in life, which is, in my perspective, very much based on lack of self-love or simply lack of connection to the highest love that resides within us.
I remember, I think like a test even for someone who listens to it, because one of the practices that I did was a sort of affirmation, or just one thing was that I spoke to my inner child, but I also just walking around during the day said, "I love you" to myself. I love inside my mind. I love you, I love you, and I know. I think for me at first it didn't really. It wasn't that hard for me, but I didn't feel that much either. But I've spoken to many people who say that they can't even say that to themselves because they feel so bad, basically. They feel awful. That's a real sign that you're not fully sort of developed in loving yourself. If you can't look yourself in the mirror, I mean, of course, it can feel a bit weird, perhaps, but if you feel like negative bodily sensations and you just can't say it, then there's definitely room for embodying more love for yourself.
Exactly. And it's actually much more often than we might think, that people have difficulties to say this to themselves. And this is what you did, Jonas, is actually one of the exercises that people get as a homework when they start working with me. Like, it's really, they get practical exercises, and one is to chant a special sentence, and the sentence is, "I love my heart and soul." And I have chanted this sentence every day, 15 minutes for probably a year. And it was extremely a powerful experience. And only through doing this, actually, on observing myself, I realized my self-love blockages. And I actually cried a lot. I cried a lot after a time. I chanted it every day for 15 minutes, actually every day from 7 a.m. to 7:15. And in the beginning, it felt easy when I started with it, but then I really reached the places, the blockages within myself, and I released so much negative information, feelings, thoughts about myself, as well as trauma, as well as negative information from past lives. Maybe not all viewers have this experience or this belief that there are past lives, but in my work, I actually discovered that most of the blockages that people carry, we actually carry from other incarnations, that we already have experienced trauma back then, and that we carry this with us for many lifetimes until we really reach the point where we go into healing, like you said.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with past lives, and I tend to sometimes think about to have a sort of naturalistic or materialistic explanation for the same phenomenon. And in my mind, even if you don't believe in past lives, you do believe in DNA or just genetics. And we do know that people in the evolution of the species inherit trauma when we do studies of mice or whatever. So even if we don't believe in past lives, it's scientifically proven that we do carry these traumas throughout the generations, and to heal them, um, either if it was a past life or if it was however you want to see it, it's there.
Exactly. And I was evaluating a little bit one major issue that I discovered that most people have. Most people have negative imprints related to feeling rejected. Some people have experienced rejection in their life, and I went very deep into meditation. And I also, when I want to know something, I communicate with the universe, and I ask questions when I want to understand something, and then I meditate upon it, and then information is delivered. And what I have learned in this process of evaluating this question about rejection, where it truly comes from, and also how to heal it, is that actually we all have experiences, every single soul, because originally in the moment of creation, when how I see it is, as the source is like a huge giant light field, and one could say that looks like a bubbling huge giant light field, or a field of positive information. It's vibrant. This is where all the souls come from. And the moment when this one new soul is created, the soul is subdivided from that source field, so it experiences a division. It's a separation, and then the soul comes down to earth to become a human being. And in the moment when the sperm of the father and the egg of the mother melt as one, in that moment the source sends the soul, which is called Yuan Shen, the original soul, to this union. And then the soul that becomes Jonas or Magdalena or Tobias or whoever, is called Shushan. That's just the other soul. But in that moment, the soul, the Shushan comes into embodiment in the moment of birth, when the mother gives birth. But the soul that was subdivided from the source has already experienced a kind of separation. And then the soul is connected to the mother in a very deep way for a very long time. It's feeling the love and the nourishment, hopefully, of the mother. And then it has to go through separation again, because in the moment of birth, they separate physically. So this is also something where a lot of people carry birth trauma from. Actually, their process of being born wasn't so beautiful. And so this is actually very often for some people the starting point of feeling rejected and not really welcome on earth. And they carry this program or the consciousness of rejection within themselves. And this causes, of course, a lot of problems. Of course, it causes them not to love themselves, but it can also cause a lot of problems in relationships, because it can be so deep. I have worked with people, they had such deep issues with that every relationship they actually had, no matter at workplace or with brothers or sisters, it always was just struggle. They always failed because they simply didn't feel loved and accepted by anyone they have been with. So this is my explanation for the root cause of the rejection issue, but it's a major topic for humanity, the feelings of being rejected, and it repeats, of course, throughout the childhood, the adolescence, going to school, going to workplace, and so on. So we accumulate more and more negative feelings and negative thoughts related to this, and it simply impacts all our relationships.
Interesting with the core wound. There's a guy, sort of half researcher, half spiritual teacher, who his name is Jeffrey Martin. He says that in his research on people who have awakened or woken up or reached this, whatever you want to call it, enlightenment or something, it tends to be that almost all of them still have some sort of core wound or core trigger, one or two who just doesn't give, even though they are very, very, very spiritual, very, very enlightened. And and it's interesting with the core wound or core trigger, or whatever you want to call it, because for me, that is something I notice in myself too. Even though I feel a lot of self-love and I feel great in my life in general, I still, I mean, I have every emotion a human being have, but I generally feel great. But I do feel in intimate relationships, and can be in other places as well, the feeling of rejection. Or rejection, I guess, isn't a feeling. You feel perhaps sad or anxious or something. I also got to think about this, attachment styles, who ambivalent or avoidant. All those are different types of dealing with rejection, basically. To
Yes.
just be avoidant all the time, so you never ever get rejected. You reject everyone
Yes.
all the time at the start and pretend like you're indifferent because you're so afraid, or you're more ambivalent and go between this, and to be too overly needy and pulling away, and overly needing and never having that real true trust or safety, which is the third, I guess, attachment style among the regular ones. There are some people who are relatively safe in their attachment styles. Then there's the dissociative, which is another one, but I won't go into that.
No, it's a big concept that I, of course, studied as a psychologist. It's one of the first things you do study is the attachment styles. And I honor the work of the two who have developed it, Bowlby and Ainsworth. They have done a lot of fantastic research, and I have actually have seen the original videos from with the children and the mothers and the babies. I used to watch that. Maybe we can talk about this deeper in another episode, because it's such a big topic that should be explained further. But what I want to share, referring to what you said, is it is a core wound, like you said, and it's very deeply grounded in the collective consciousness, and it has been repeating over, in case we believe in reincarnation, over many embodiments, and it was reinforced in many ways. Like, for instance, we can also say now people who immigrate to a country, they experience also a lot of rejection, or people who have had an illness or a handicap, they have gone through experiences of being rejected. And of course, in the romantic relationship, I mean, I believe that in our history, we have a lot of we have had a lot of encounters where we might have rejected someone because we did not fall in love with them, and we needed to express it somehow. And in some cases, we've done a very good job. We're very mindful and kind and loving. In some ways, we might have been very cold and closed-hearted. So everyone probably in their history has rejected someone, as well as we have experienced maybe being deeply in love with someone and not being loved back by them. So this might have been a very deep relationship issue that we have gone through. And there is also a lot of rejection in the family settings. Like, think of the people who have been abandoned by one of their parent, or who have been so maybe children who have been not planned and intentionally created, and even parents don't express it. The children might feel it their whole life, that there was something. So I really believe that rejection is a very huge topic for humanity. It's a core wound that we all carry, and it is one of the first things we have to heal on the true love path. We have to take care of this. We have to address it. And when it comes to romantic relationships, we can actually see that there is a lot of myth around it, that there is a lot of movies and there was a lot of scenarios created that it actually is beneficial for love life. Yeah. So sometimes you can see in some countries in Europe, when, let's put it this way, when the man is rejected by a woman, he tends to want this woman more. They run after the one that has rejected them. And it's the same true for women. When women feel rejected by someone, they develop strong attachments. And there are a lot of movies about these things, and a lot of these things are also glorified, while in fact there is actually a lot of suffering. There's a lot of personal, mental and emotional suffering, to a degree where people reject themselves, where they even become very sick physically. So I really think it's a serious issue for humanity, and that we could look, when we start to look upon it from this perspective of I mean, we can look at ourselves. Am I feeling attracted to someone because they actually don't show interest, right? Is this something that ignites my passion even more when someone is not instantly paying attention to me? So there are a lot of people who actually function this way, but one can start a passionate relationship. A passionate relationship based on that pattern, but it's very hard to maintain a loving, healthy, long-lasting relationship when these issues are not healed or addressed.
For sure. I'm thinking back to my very early days when I was in my like 18 or something like that, and I read seduction guides. There are. I read a book
Okay.
called "Double Your Dating," and one of the tricks there was to be sort of have the attitude of being cocky and funny. And
Yeah.
I think many of those sort of techniques, if you embody them or can embody them, they actually do work, especially in the
Yes.
short term.
Yeah.
Because when you really, really believe in yourself and you are this cocky, funny guy, um, I think that becomes attractive for this was for men, of course. I remember watching Oprah too, where there was some woman who gave tips that you shouldn't call within 2 days unless, kind of also manipulating behavior in a way, which in a short term may
Exactly.
work, but it's not who you are, of course. So when you're not who you really are, or feeling the feelings you really are, or acting on what you feel is true within yourself, you will never get the results you want, because you're doing
Exactly.
something to get something, in a non-honest way. I guess you could say it could be unconscious even. So
Exactly.
no blame in it. It's just how it is.
Yeah, it's a lot of the things are subconscious, are completely subconscious. People are totally not aware. But when you have a little bit deeper view on it, you can discover it everywhere. You can just go to a bar and observe people, and you will see exactly these things playing out. And as you said, it doesn't really, I believe it's not the foundation for a real, sincere, what I call true love relationship. What's based on that is a fake relationship. And there are many people who try to maintain the fake relationships, but they suffer, because when it's true love, then you feel loved and you feel happy and fulfilled. And I honor and respect all the guides and all the tips out there in the universe, but I myself found that a lot of the things are simply really designed or give advice to manipulate others, not to really not to really create healthy relationships, because healthy relationships, there's no manipulation. And they're one of the most ingredients for that, or the first key for manifesting a true love. Let's say, if you want a romantic relationship, is integrity. That's one of the key steps that we have to develop within ourselves. And lack of integrity is another core wound that collective consciousness carries. There's a very big big issue with integrity in the world.
I remember one of those programs that, because it called Authentic Man program, which actually was it was created by some people who are into integral theory, and it's kind of Ken Wilbur, and he's an American philosopher, and which were not about manipulating, but about actually embodying truth in a way, and expressing yourself, being vulnerable, like Brené Brown, to have that as a real, not just cry at movies, but actually be vulnerable in in a relationship, and own your own shortcomings, and being truthful, because that's when you have nothing to hide. That is also attractive in another way. So some people who are not attracted to that will, of course, not be be attracted to it, but you will attract more people who are resonate with who you are and what you actually want deep inside.
Exactly. And I believe, this is my personal belief, that everyone wants to be loved for who they are, for who they truly are. And this is a true human need for love, to be, and that's why we call it in the true love path, I call it unconditional love. Unconditional love means to accept what is, including the shortcomings, including the shadow sides, including both. aspects that we all carry. But the key in relationships is to choose every day to create more love, to create more self-love, to express our highest version, the highest qualities that we all embody. And this is work, right? It takes effort to always go back to that place and to be open, honest and sincere with ourselves, where we have been maybe not kind or not honest or not mindful, and to address it, to correct it, and next time do it better. So I think, like you said, this integrity and authenticity is very important, but it's not like it's all there right away. We are all working our way to it, and one important step is to be vulnerable and also admit, or I like to say, to own our shadow sides, to admit when we have done mistakes, or when we have been not in the place of highest love all the time. And we can't, no one is actually, but I think this is a goal on the true love path. And I believe that more and more people are actually looking for that this is what they are really seeking: true connection, true intimacy, and true development with maybe one partner, rather than trying out many people where the issues just continue to repeat, because this is what happens when we don't solve an issue, a lesson. When we don't master a lesson, it simply comes back all the time in different forms.
Chanting is you probably know who is a spiritual teacher from the US. Chanting, I remember a question he often posit to people to ask themselves, and that is, what is it that I know that I don't want to know?
Beautiful.
Like a starting point almost. With I was also thinking about the 12-step program, where everything starts in a way. I'm not sure if it starts with that, but with being honest with yourself, admitting you have a problem, kind of admitting that I'm addicted, or I am an alcoholic, or I'm codependent, or whatever it might be, because as Fritz Perls, a psychologist, I think, said, awareness in and of itself is in a way curative. So just knowing it and admitting it, it doesn't fix it, but it's just, to my mind, like a first step.
Yes, exactly. I deeply believe in that too. Awareness is crucial, and it is part of the healing process, to become more and more aware. And it is how we learn to understand ourselves more and more. And the Buddha said, love comes from understanding. So becoming aware of the issues and understanding the issues, this is where we actually reach higher state of self-love. And when I, for instance, work with people, I give them as homework some questions, like from week to week, to reflect upon. And some people like to write, so they write down the questions. Some people just leave me voice messages, but to reflect upon certain questions is to gain this deeper understanding and the deeper awareness. Even we might not have all solutions yet, that doesn't matter, because this alone opens up the space for healing when we become aware of it. Yeah, I think it's very, very important.
So there's a first step to first be aware of kind of the problem, or I don't know what to call it, but that we have a certain problem with, could be often both loving ourselves and being open and vulnerable in a relationship, or being so afraid to feel rejected that we act out in certain ways that become dysfunctional in the relationship. And I just see that it's it's so easy to blame ourselves for that too. We blame ourselves for not
Yes.
loving ourselves, and then we blame ourselves for acting out in the relationship, and then
Yeah.
we love ourselves even less.
Yes. And then you step into another major lesson that people have to encounter on the soul true love journey is healing guilt and shame. I found that this is, like we already discovered the core issues, the core wounds is feeling rejected. Another major issue is definitely lack of integrity and lack of authenticity. Then, of course, being rejected also leads a lot to the common issues, attachments, having unhealthy attachments, even to the degree where it is addiction. I have actually discovered many years ago that most of the relationships I see and observe, or people come to me for help, is they are living in addictive relationship models. It's pure addiction, and psychologically, as well as what is going on in the body, it's the same stuff that goes on with another form of addiction. So there are a lot of addictive relationships, but one major core wound is also guilt and shame. And I think this is something that is totally underrated, because on the true love journey, we actually want to uplift our frequency and vibration. When we talk about this in terms of maybe quantum physics, or what is the true love journey, it actually is to constantly uplift our frequency and vibration to a higher vibration and higher consciousness, embodying higher qualities. Let's say, when we would talk in these terms, there are some people who measure frequencies and vibration, and there's someone, I don't know his name, but who put it out in the world and says, oh, love vibrates about 700 megahertz, and peace vibrates 800. I think he said 800 is for joy and 900 is for peace, or something like that. So love vibrates somewhere there, but he said guilt and shame vibrates about 70 or 80 megahertz. So we can see what a big issue this is for the people. People want love. People want to have loving relationships, but they are so loaded with so much guilt and shame, where it becomes very difficult to love themselves. And of course, when we vibrate here, this is what I always say, wherever we vibrate, this is exactly what we broadcast to the world, and the universe simply responds. So we will encounter more and more situations and more people who will make us feel ashamed and guilty, either about ourselves or about the things we're doing or saying. And this is something I really see a lot. And it's difficult to heal guilt and shame, because most people who are feeling guilt and shame are feeling guilty and ashamed to admit that they are feeling guilty and ashamed. So you have to take some, in some sessions, in some healing sessions, it sometimes takes them a few rounds to discover, oh, that my root issue is actually, I really feel ashamed of myself, or I feel guilty for things that I've done. And for me, one of the crucial steps is always that people become aware, because this is where the healing can really start or go deeper, and then I can work deeper with them to transform it. But unless someone thinks that they are addicted, then someone has an addiction, they will not really embark on the healing path. So unless someone realizes that they are having guilt and shame issues, it could be difficult to heal it. But it's another very huge collective wound that has been also reinforced in many, many situations. And I actually observe that it's a very big healing taking place on Earth right now of this collective issues with the guilt and shame, because we can't reach the place of unconditional love and unconditional self-love when we still carry this within.
Shame is definitely, I remember working with a psychologist around shame, and he had this thing called a shame compass. And what struck me was that shame often is so because we feel it, of course, as very small children, and it's the last feeling we want to have. So we start to we train ourselves to not feel it, to do everything else to get away from that feeling. So being in denial, or as a person or adult, we could say, but it tends to often be either acting out towards someone else, to be angry or something, or we act inward and kind of maybe we do a guilt trip on ourselves or even hurt ourselves because we feel so much shame. But hurting ourselves takes us away from the shame, because that's it's still better than feeling that deep shame we have inside of us. And it, to me, it was kind of an epiphany to see how quick our kind of nervous system has been trained to just move away from shame to anything else but it.
Yes, it's true. It's a very painful feeling, but it's socially so not accepted, right? People accept anger easier than they accept shame. But shaming is happening all the time. There's a lot of shaming happening in advertisements, and shaming others is actually used a lot as a marketing tool to sell products, to sell things, and it's a really big issue in the world. And one of the worst things that I have observed with people who have maybe rejected the feelings of shame very, very deeply, but they feel but it's so deep inside of them that they continue to recreate situations for themselves that are very painful and shameful, and they do things that are completely irrational, or where you would think, how can they do this? It's unbelievable. But they actually do it subconsciously, because the soul is looking for a way to get in touch with this repressed shame and guilt within themselves. And until they get in touch with that feeling that they have pushed away so far away, they might continue to create very, very stupid things in their lives, and experience really a lot of emotional, mental pain. And the only way to heal and release it is to really acknowledge and really see, oh, this is shame. It has a name. This is shame. Or I feel guilty now. I don't feel sad. I don't feel depressed, because that's what people often do. They use words that have come widely spread to describe a condition that they are suffering, but because of lack of understanding and lack of awareness, they just name it depression. But behind a lot of depression is actually a lot of suppressed shame and guilt.
Yeah,
It takes
and then
time to uncover this.
yeah, I also just remembered a co-writer to Ken Wilbur on a couple of books. I can't remember his name now, but he's a psychology and I think expert on attachment trauma. I just remember him saying that most of the patients coming to his clinic, what they were suffering from were actually relationships troubles or relationship issues. So they have all these kinds of depressions and whatnot, but the insurance companies didn't pay for relationship troubles. They only paid for depression or manic disorders or something like that. But in his mind, more than half of them who came to him were feeling bad because of relationships issues. And that's, I think, that's interesting, also with this rejection, shame, and but why are you feeling the way you're feeling? Is it
Exactly. And this is something that's one of the reasons why I literally dedicate myself to offer healing and support and readings, spiritual guidance for relationships, because when these things can be healed, then many of physical and emotional health conditions can change. A lot of people have very severe lower back problem. They are actually having relationship issues. A lot of sadly, but a lot of women with breast cancer, I think there has been already some scientific research, they actually suffer from relationship issues, very often from rejection and from a severe breakup that they didn't digest well. And they suffered so much mentally and emotionally that they developed breast cancer. And there, I believe that, we have the major areas in our life and soul journey that are very crucial for people, which is, of course, the work, however we serve in the world, our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Our finances are, of course, important for the human path. But one of the major things is actually relationships. There is no way we can, unless we are really born in the jungle and or left there and grow there, but still we will have a connection to the nature. There's no way to live a human life without relating, without relationships. And this is such an important topic. And for me, it makes me sad to hear that people don't get, this payment from the insurance when they would book relationship consultations, that they have to ask for other things, because I think it's one of the major crucial human aspects. And when we look at it for the spiritual journey, when we look upon it from the perspective of that all souls want to evolve and reach higher levels of enlightenment, I personally believe, I know that there are monks who withdraw and go into the temples and sit by themselves in the mountains somewhere. Still until this day, I remember myself doing this in other incarnations. But I believe the fastest way actually to reach higher levels of enlightenment is to work dedicatedly on relationships. There's most of the lessons that are provided to us for our spiritual evolvement, they come through relationships. Everybody is a teacher. Everybody we encounter, no matter in what setting, can help our spiritual evolvement so much. It can uplift us so much when we are open to learn and to master the lessons. And there are many lessons, of course, to master, like we mentioned already a few, but I believe this is the most crucial thing in life on the journey to enlightenment, is really relationships. And of course, a relationship with ourselves. This is where it starts. But mastering relationships, it's a big field to grow.
Like you said, the many of the spiritual tradition, they quote unquote solved it through the relationship issues with going into living as a eunuch, or living with sexual and romantic abstinence, and then it's in a way easier to live your life and just focus on the spiritual. But like you say, I think in the modern world, we don't do as the Buddha did and just leave everything, or because we're in this life and we sort of need to learn to surf the waves and being in relationship still. But it's really a fire. So you can it's both how do you say, like a really military exercises to practice spiritual or just be in a relationship.
I love that. Yeah, I believe the ones who decided, monks, us back then, one of the intentions was to prevent, to create suffering and to prevent harming others, and to prevent creating new negative information, which we also can call karma. I think these are the ideas behind, to really stop doing all these things that we do with our thoughts, words, and actions and behaviors. It's so easy to create darkness. When we, for instance, act out an emotional state that we have, that's just like a wave of emotions, and we would act out on it, it's very easy to fall very, very deeply into darkness. And that's one of the things why the masters who wanted to become enlightened really decided, okay, I will exclude that. But the thing is, nowadays, as there are so many people incarnated on Earth, we are all soulmates and soul friends. Most people that we have around us are people we have already met in other incarnations. We have already encounters with them. And either we have had good encounters and we treated them well, or we haven't been in our best shape and we have accumulated negative information. So the truth is that we have to work out something with them. We meet them because we have to clear something out. And of course, we could do this. I mean, we could go and withdraw ourselves and do the spiritual practices that transform negative information even without the encounters. But I personally believe that when we truly, when we jump out into this world with so many people, neighbors, friends, work colleagues, it's very brave, but it can be also very fast, that we can transform a lot of things in one incarnation, because we can meet so many people nowadays. We can have so many encounters, while in the past we, just meeting someone, we could travel for days on our own or walk through the valleys to meet another friend. It's so easy now to meet people. It can be very dangerous, but at the same time, it can be very progressive and very, a speed up for our soul journey when we take the task seriously, when we really live in the awareness that whoever we meet, and when we have a challenge or a struggle, that there could be something from the past, even we might not see or know, when we instantly apply the techniques and tools that also the monks apply, like forgiveness practice, instantly forgiveness, being humble, or also expressing gratitude. So when we do apply all of the things, I think we can rise very high in one incarnation. We can speed up the process.
It's we mentioned a couple of times the soul and the soul's journey and incarnation and choosing to incarnate, or leaving God, maybe even choosing to incarnate, or whatever we want to call it, infinite universe. Would you mind saying something about, because sometimes I guess there's this idea of we are in our the problems we have is because we chose them, and we kind of judge ourselves for it. But in the idea of a soul choosing something, it's not the embodiment right now that chose it. It is, you chose it at another time in a way, but you didn't choose to be in a dysfunctional relationship, of course. You didn't choose to have someone hit you or anything like that. That is on them, I guess. Just I think that's just like a good context for it. But knowing that there is this idea, or that many people speak about, and you do too, and that the soul has chosen a sort of journey, and a journey here, what maybe we talk about is to find love and find home, or how would you talk about it?
Yes, so
Okay.
this is actually a very, very good question, or something that we really should look upon. Um, First of all, I believe that the physical life here on earth is to serve the soul journey, that we choose this embodiment to serve our soul, which is the golden light being which sits in our body and is on this soul journey from one embodiment to another, until it goes back to the source, until it makes its way home to the creator, the Tao. And in this embodiment, we have free will. We can choose, like you said, we choose things. And we not always choose in situations when we are here on earth, to be love. We not always have chosen that. We were not always in the condition of love when we walked the earth. Maybe we were angry or greedy or whatever. So we have accumulated what is called negative information, or we can call it karma, negative karma in the Vedic science. And the negative information is actually that what impacts our choices for the next embodiment. So, yes, we don't choose consciously to be in abusive relationships or in a very difficult codependent relationship. We don't think we choose this consciously, but in fact, before we come on earth, we spend time in the Akashic records, which is a place in the higher realm, in the fifth dimension, and we plan our life. And we plan our life according to the records, according to the positive and negative information we have accumulated on our soul journey already in other embodiments. So this determines how our next embodiment will be. And it is also includes the relationships we will have, the place where we will incarnate, the parents we will have. And this alone, the start with the parents, it can be so difficult. Some people have such a bad start, right? But this is what we decide in the Akashic records. And of course, we come down as a soul to this embodiment, and our mind is not aware of this, that we actually have chosen this. And we choose, for instance, to be in a relationship where we maybe will experience big heartbreak, big divorce, or even like a rose war, fighting about money, fighting about this and that, because we have to clear something with that one soul. Maybe in another embodiment, it doesn't have to be literally, it doesn't have to be that soul that we meet in this lifetime where we completely mess up. It doesn't have to be that soul, but very often it is a soul that we have heard in any form in another embodiment. So we come back and we get another chance to clear out the negative information, to actually uplift to love, to uplift to the state of love, forgiveness, compassion, what I call higher love, or the love, the state of true love. And when we do this and when we apply forgiveness, then we clear out the negative information between us. And then we are actually free. And we do not have to come back again to meet that soul and to learn exactly that lessons. But our mind is most of the time not aware of this. And this is the issues for people. So for me personally, when I experience a very deep hardship in my love life and on my true love journey, where I was really, really heartbroken, this was one of the most important moments for me, because I was already, I knew that there might be negative information from past lives, that there might be karma that I had to work out with that soul. And I wanted to know and understand what it was that my soul came to learn, so that I can heal deeper. And that's also one of the reasons why spiritual readings are very helpful for healing relationship issues or relationship trauma stuff, because a lot of the issues are actually already from the past, for a long, long time ago. But we don't choose consciously with our mind, but our soul does choose. It really chooses very consciously. Our soul is very aware who our soul is meeting and picking. But here's the thing. When we, let's say in this embodiment, awaken to a certain state and start to do what you have done, reading all the books, doing the meditation, doing the self-healing work, doing the forgiveness practices that clear negative information, in my view and understanding, then we can actually rewrite our path. And then we no longer have to meet, this karmic patterns don't have to repeat. We no longer have to meet probably souls that could have caused us deep suffering or teach us big lessons, because we have already because we went through the healing process and we have released the negative information from the past, and then the past changes. then we don't have to do this anymore. So even our souls might have planned it before this embodiment, the road can change. And I have seen this actually. I have had people who came to me and asked me, for instance, like the woman was very dedicated in spiritual practices. The man wasn't, but she was really, she understood it's important to do forgiveness and things like that. And on some point, she was really practicing and meditating a lot. And then she approached me and asked, do I really have to still stay with this husband in this marriage? And I don't give guidance like, leave your partner or not. But she really wanted to know if there is still karma left. And I said, yes, there is. And I honestly told her when she would leave now, she would carry quite a bit of these things still, and she would bring it to a new relationship. It will just repeat. So the woman consciously decided to stay and to work on it very dedicatedly, every day meditation, every day forgiveness practice. And after a few years, she actually came back and told me that she decided to leave that husband because she knows now that she has done her work, which was absolutely amazing, and they weren't at total peace, and they handled it very well with the children, with everything. It was a very, very loving, actually, separation, but they both felt it's time to separate and that they don't want to continue the journey together, not because they don't want to accumulate new negative information, actually because they felt they just wanted to do other experiences, make new experiences in their love life. Yes, so that's what I believe, what the purpose of life is, to serve the soul, and every relationship can be a very important step on that path to higher levels of enlightenment and to return to the source. But it can be also a very dangerous path downwards.
Okay, I think that's a good way to stop. Do you have anything more before we end today's session?
No, but maybe we can just share one practice, because you shared about it, or we spoke about it, how to reach higher levels or deeper level of self-love. And one meditation that I guide was that I always lead the people to do is very simple, and people who watch this can do it with us now, and then try to apply it every day and see how it works for them, if they are making progress in their self-love journey. So what we would do is simply sit, or we can also do it lying down in case we are bedridden or whatever for reason we want to do it lying down after wake up. And we can place one hand on our lower abdomen and one hand on our heart. The heart area is very important for relationships, as we know, including for the relationship with ourselves. And we can just close our eyes and we can picture a beautiful golden light Buddha in our heart. Just in any image or vision idea we have of a golden light Buddha. And we are sitting in front of this golden light Buddha. And this golden light Buddha is actually the aspect of the source that sits in our heart. It's purest love. It is really unconditional love. It's purest light, kindness, compassion, and this golden light Buddha is radiating this to us. And we can simply speak a mantra for a moment, which is simply, I love my heart and soul. And before we do that, we can make a conscious connection with this source of light within our heart, which is called Yuan Shen. And we simply can say, Dear my Yuan Shen, I love you, I honor you, I deeply appreciate you. Could you please offer me a blessing so I can connect with you deeper and I can feel your love and I can increase my self-love. Thank you. That's all we do. We just do a short request, and then we can meditate and we can speak it out loud or silently, and we would simply repeat, I love my heart and soul. 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 And we continue to chant it in silence, and we simply visualize that this Buddha is radiating lots of love and light to us, and we bath in that love and light. And this love and light can heal our blockages, our self-love blockages, our guilt, shame, lack of integrity, or issues with rejection, feelings of being rejected, because love heals and melts all blockages away. And we could stay in this meditative state for a few minutes, for 5 or 10 minutes, or even go into deeper meditation afterwards. And at the end of the practice, we simply say thank you. Say how, or thank you, thank you, thank you. We end this practice by saying thank you to the beautiful golden light being within us. So that's one way where we can start on our true love journey to increase our self-love barometer. And I'm curious when people watch this and when they have made good experiences, what they have experienced. Please feel free to share with us. It's always very fascinating what this simple exercise does to people. So I'm very curious to read the comments or to hear about it.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great exercise. I did it with you now. So, yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was our first episode.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the next one. I really like exploring this topic with you, Jonas. Thank you for the great questions.
Yes. Thank you too.